welcome everyone to Root Awakening TV. Come on into my kitchen and let's continue our preserving and canning that we started last week. So last week we did pear jelly from some Perry pears. It turned out delicious. We also did some garlic puree where we roasted the garlic. If you remember or watched the video, we put it onto cookie sheets, we froze it, and then took the clumps and froze that for future use. What I want to show you today, we have a new camera angle, I want to show you today is those garlic cubes. You can see each one of these cubes is pureed garlic. And there's nothing else in it. There might be a little bit of olive oil, salt, and salt. That's about all. Speakeasy is saying they didn't get an alert. I don't know how that's happening, but I hope it isn't the problem with anybody else. We're going to put these back in the freezer. I don't want these to soften, but you can see I'm going to be able to use these a lot this winter. I can throw it into pasta. I could throw it into mashed potatoes. I could throw it into vegetables. Anything you want roasted garlic for. So I'm going to pop these back in the freezer. Today we want to take you a few places with us. We want to make some, hey, Mark's here, yay, welcome. Mark says got an alert, good. We're going to be taking you to a fall place where we're using pumpkins, we're using apples, spices, brown sugar, all of those things that are autumnal. Is that the right word?
So close enough.
So close enough. We're also going to be taking you to the fun we had all weekend at the Bobcaygeon Agricultural Fall Fair. So we're a little tired today because yes, we had a lot of fun, but we worked very hard at it as well as vendors, as volunteers. There might be a few gaffes today because we're just throwing this together. We had a choice. Do we do a stream? A little tired, or do we cancel it? We decided to do the stream. So today we want to go to our first drink. Now, if you watched my Instagram live, I'm explaining that there's farmers markets, mimosas that are starting to be a trend in foodie land. This one that we're making today is a concord grape. Now, if you go to the farmers markets or you see the fall, the produce, you'll see those concord grapes. They're not like the other grapes. They're a little bit tangy. The skin on them is a little bit thicker. And they make delicious grape jellies. They make delicious grape juice. I made a little bit of a concord grape puree. So it's not strained. It has a little bit of pulp in it. We're going to make, I know, concord grapes over there, they're delicious. We're going to make a drink today. It's a mimosa. It says sparkling wine, or sparkling, yeah, sparkling, we didn't have any. So we're going to be using my wine and a little bit of club soda. It works. All right, I put some ice. Make sure 2 ounces of the concord grape. So 2 ounces of the concord grape. I'm just going to pour in what I think is 2 ounces. That looks good. That was about maybe, that's your phone, about a cup of concord grapes. This one has a little vodka. Now, vodka in a mimosa, does that sound normal? All right, so I've got that off. We're going to put in 1 ounce of vodka. This is going to make 2 drinks. Remember, a mimosa, so we're not really like killing it. So it's about ½ an ounce per drink. We want 4 ounces of white wine. Well, do I do it? Okay. Like I said, the Bobcaygeon Fall Fair just takes over the town because of the pandemic. We didn't have it. It takes over the town. Lots and lots of fun. Lots and lots of community spirit. Can't beat it. All right, we're going to shake this up. I hope the sound is okay. If it isn't, let us know. This is pretty full, so I don't want to. Making a mess today. That's not going to work.
What's that now?
What?
Mark.
Ooh. What's this? Ounce, yeah. Now I'm just going to go 3/4 because I want to top it up with some club soda to give us a little bit of the fizz. This kind of looks nice. I think I'm going to just use look at that. It's perfect because then you top it up with the club soda. So there is a list of farmers markets mimosas, and one takes kombucha and beer that Mark and I were talking earlier. I don't know if I like that idea. Might not do that one. Here's a little trick for you for a garnish. I want you to look at this lime with a little bit of rosemary in it. So let's try and do one of those. I don't know which camera you're on. So we're going to do a little circle of a disc of lime. You're going to take a little toothpick. Is that camera clear? What I want you to do is take the rosemary with the toothpick and go through it together, and then your rosemary will stay in. So the rosemary is very nice in the mimosa. Just a slight hint of it. You can see here how pretty that is. There we go. Looks nice. Fresh rosemary off my plant, very nice. Fit it in this way. Mark. Let's try it. Here's a Concord grape mimosa. My lime's in the way.
It went up my nose.
It's delicious. I have to say it quiet like Liz says. That's delicious. Let's go on to the pumpkin. Oh, I said what we're going to make. We're going to be making pumpkin apple butter today. Very easy thing to make. So fruit butter is one of my favorite ways to preserve because it's whole fruit. I'm going to supercut everything Ruth says. This is delicious. It's usually, I don't know why my voice is going weird all of a sudden. It's usually the drink because the one time in a week I will have a drink is when we do a stream. It's delicious. This fruit butter is made in a slow cooker. What you do is you put all of the ingredients into a slow cooker and it'll cook. I think I'm going to just double check because we do have the recipe. It cooks for about 8 hours. You stir it and then it cooks for another 6 hours. You're giving this a lot. So you're taking apples and you're taking pumpkin, you're putting it into a slow cooker and it's going to render down. Yeah, so you'll see. 8, is that 8? It's a little bit small for me. I'm just going to use this. 8 cups of chopped apples, 6 cups of a chopped squash or pumpkin. Let's go through it. I pre-cut all of my pumpkin because, well, it's really squash. It's a lot of work to trim pumpkin. Cut it in small pieces. That's what I discovered. So I do have.
I think I left pumpkin off the recipe.
What's that?
I left the pumpkin off the recipe.
The pumpkin. Tom typed it in and he left it off. We're gonna have to fix it. I don't know if we can fix it live. 6 cups peeled and squashed. You look at that, like you're saying, wow, that's really taking up almost all of it. It will be full, so you need a fairly large slow cooker. Now, if you want to cook this in a kettle on the stove top, you can. Why I stopped doing that is because it easily burns. You're cooking it so long and there's so very little juice in it that it easily burns. And then you have to babysit it a little bit too much. I'm going to start the apples. So years ago, pumpkin apple butter or just plain apple butter would have been made by neighbors, by farmers. And so they would get together, they would take off what was on their ground from their orchard. There was so much of it, they would have a massive kettle, an outside fire, and they would take turns supervising it because it needs a lot of stirring. And then they would split what they had between the whole family. I doubt they had this groovy little apple core and this little machine. Oh, I just splashed my own face. I doubt they had this, but you can see what this does. You know, this machine wasn't very expensive. and it saves me hours of work. And not only that, you get a real consistent apple slice. Now I'm going to start adding the apples. And why didn't I do this ahead of time? I thought that maybe it would be something you'd want to watch. Also, I don't want the apples going brown, because when the apples sit for a long time, you know, and I didn't want to put them into citric acid. I wanted to keep this really a fresh thing. So we're going to continue this. Now you can make this just straight up apple butter. I always like to put the pumpkin in it because it gives it a creaminess. It's a little bit more nutritional. And I would just eat all that apple skin until I got sick and then eat more. Yeah, I guess it is a waste. You know, there is a farmer that's close to us. We're good friends with them, and they will take anything, produce, clippings, produce, and they feed it to their animals. You know, it has to be fresh, but if you don't know this, pigs will eat almost anything. So you can take them anything like that. When you do tomato preserving, they will take it to the piggies, and it still composts the earth. So like I was saying, what can we use this for? I'm sure you can come up with some ways to use up apple butter, apple pumpkin butter. If you don't have a crock pot, well, how else can you make it? Or you can half the recipe. You know, this will make me quite a bit. If you've got, what is it? 6 cups. 8 cups of pumpkin, 6 cups of apples. You're going to be making, of course it reduces because of the water.
Say good morning, Jane.
Hey Jane. Jane is the sourdough bake. Oh, listen. Jane helped me. I had a midterm exam this week, and the first half of it is practical, the second half of it is theory written. The practical part, it was tough. I had to process some bread, and it was being judged pretty heavily. It was stressful. And Jane is a professional bread, I can never say it, bread baker, and she was there for me. And I had a lot of questions. She probably saved my sourdough starter from being a flop. And I got my results yesterday by email. I got 100%. So thanks Jane, and thanks Bruiser. Stephen helped me as well. Now, oops, I don't want those peelings in there. So what we're doing today is making this pumpkin apple butter. It will be until tomorrow this will cook.
You saw your first prize bundt cake?
Yeah, don't wreck my surprise. We're going to talk about that later. I had a week of judging my culinary arts this week, and I fared okay sometimes. And now let me tell you about what happened with one loaf of bread. So I had to do it right to the book. I'm sure Jane will tell you that you do some shortcuts, but I couldn't take shortcuts. I had to do it in a very theoretical way. So I did, and the ciabatta bread deflated before I could bake it. And so I contacted another cook who I thought, and he's Italian, so I thought, okay, you can help me. And he said, don't worry about it. Let it rise again. It will look okay. It may not have oven spring. It'll look okay. It probably won't have a very good crumb. And I did. It deflated because I handled it too much. I thought I had completely failed that part of it. I let it rise one more time. It looked fine. It cut fine. It wasn't very good after. It very quickly became a gummy bread. So it looked okay. I passed it. We're good. Now I'm getting a lot in here. You can see that. I don't want to cut yet. But that's okay. Remember, this all cooks down. I do have to add some brown sugar, and I have to add some spices. Now, while I'm cutting these last few apples, we want to talk about community cookbooks. We touched on it last week, and some of you may not have been here and missed that part of it. So a community cookbook might even be something you have in your kitchen. It's one of those cookbooks that's put together by an organization, religious group, or maybe even a school, someplace where you're trying to raise money. This one's not working, so we'll let this one go. And they went by the wayside when you can now just Google. You can look up any recipe you want. They went by the wayside, but they're still the most valuable tool for finding those traditional recipes. And think about it, when you put your recipe into a community cookbook, you were sending them your best. And so often you see some really good home-style cooking in those cookbooks. They're also used during a period of the suffragettes. They were able to disguise their agenda in their cookbook, and other women were able to engage in their cause without it being obvious, and it was passed over that way. We have some of those cookbooks here. We're going to be cooking through those in a few weeks. Right now, we found some online that were really, really cute, and they're really old, and just a nice touch back to that time frame. Let's watch that while I'm finishing up these apples. All right, little issue with the mimosa. I have noticed that because the Concord grape is quite pulpy, it tends to sink. So I would probably serve this with some kind of a spoon or something that you can stir it up. I also took the garnish out because I couldn't do it without getting it up my nose. So if in your cupboard you have one of those community cookbooks, or you know that your mother or maybe your grandmother or someone you know has one of those, take a look at it. You're going to notice cute things like a name next to it. It may even say where they're from. This one is from, it's like a 1970s cookbook. It's from the Canettes. And you might even see the name. This one says butter tart slice. It's from this person's name. She's from Fort Garry, Manitoba. Good on her, you know, she put this in. And I have one that was put together from a school. It's the Holy Name School in Essex, Ontario, 95-96. And every one of these, could you strain the Concord? I could have strained the Concord juice, just didn't, because when I did it, I was running all week with the fair, and the pulp is pretty tasty, that's just it. But what would I have strained it through? I would have strained it through a cheesecloth, and I didn't. Well, it actually tastes pretty good. Okay, so I've got the pumpkins slices and I've got the apple slices in there. In that, we are going to put in 2 cups of dark brown sugar. You can put regular golden brown sugar if you want. I chose this one just so that I can get that dark appearance. You see, I have a lot in here, and I was thinking, I'm gonna cut this all up. I may have overdone the pumpkin. Don't worry, I'll get it all cooked in. I might even just stir this up a bit.
Could be massaging it.
Yeah, and then I will let it reduce. It'll all work out. Once it reduces, I can get it to stir over, turn over. There's so much, and I mean, who has any bigger of a crock pot than that? You know, we just don't do that anymore. Now in here, I'm just gonna look, I have 2 teaspoons cinnamon, 3 teaspoons ginger, half a teaspoon of allspice, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. When you think of how much this is, that's not a lot of spices. And I have 1 teaspoon of salt. So I've mixed them all together. I'm going to put that all in. And then we're going to put a little bit of lemon juice, and I would imagine the lemon juice is going to predominantly be to make the flavor a little brighter, and also to prevent the apples from discoloring because it's a slow cook. So I'm going to put the juice right on top, and that's going to help that brown sugar and cinnamon condense into all those apples. I might put the whole thing. Yeah, whoops. We don't want those little pits in there. I'll show you some that I made previous. I have already done 1 batch of it, and it got, I did put some in the freezer so we can have it all winter. So it's a nice spread on toast, on bagel, on crumpets, on any, good Lord. Hey, Smile Times is here. Welcome. Welcome. Smile Times, I think, found us from Andrea's stream, because that's where I saw you last. Now we put the lid on this. So, good Lord, what do we have? We have pumpkin, apples, brown sugar, spices, salt, and lemon juice. We're going to put this on for 8 hours on 7 to 8 hours on high. I'm just double checking if it was high or low. So it's on 7 to 8 hours. It's going to be so delicious. You can put it on top of a pudding. You can put it on top of a cake. You can use it as a sauce. You can use it as a condiment. It's just a delicious, delicious puree. All right, so I've got it on my crock pot now, or my slow cooker, that's a name brand. The slow cooker for 7 to 8 hours. So let's see what time it is. So about, yeah, it's going to be tonight. I'm going to be able to turn it over. It's going to work out perfect. Turn it over, and then I'll let it cook slow all night. And in the morning, I will have the product I'm looking for. And it's going to look like this. So if you look at what I've got here, it's a very dark puree. It looks like a caramely pumpkin sauce. You can see how dark. Ooh, it looks like pudding. It doesn't, yeah, it's a little bit, I don't know, I could eat it like pudding, I guess. I think people would do that. It would even be nice in the bottom of a bowl, and to build up with some yogurt, granola, fruit. There's so many uses for this pumpkin apple butter, and it is pure fruit with very little sugar. That's what I like about apple butter. It's not like you're making a jelly like we did last week with 7 cups of sugar. And we're going to go into our game, Name That Tool. All right, look at this tool. Now, some of you are going to say, I know what that tool is. There's a little bit of a catch, though. You have to tell me what the tool is used for. So you're going to see that there's a clamp here. There's a little clamp here. Most of you are going to say, oh, I know what that is, but it's specific, please. There are some markings here that tell you information about using this tool. And there's also a digital readout on the top here. And it's very specific what it's used for. Name that tool. Give it a try. Now there is a Rude Awakening giveaway. I don't know the name, but I guess it's used for checking temperatures when making jars of preserves. That's a really good guess. There's a Rude Awakening giveaway every year, and this year is an air fryer, and it's going to be drawn on December 18th at the Speakeasy TV studio in Toronto. Not quite, but good try. This little tool is very specific. So if you can guess, yes, it measures things, but it measures something very specific, and I use it a lot around Christmas time. And look at the clamp. Now, if you can tell me what this clamp is for, every time you make a guess, you get entered into the giveaway. That's that connection I was trying to make. And even just being here, you are in the entry, you have an entry into the giveaway. Joining in on my Instagram, all of those things. If I see you liking a YouTube video, all of those things. I'm having some hair issues today. Anybody? Not quite, but good try. So Smile Time says, I don't know the name, but I guess it's used for checking temperature. You're right. It's used for checking temperature, but temperature of what? That's the ticket. Come on, Jane, I think you know this. It can't be a meat thermometer. No. You're right with the thermometer. We're giving you that. Okay, so Smile Times, you are being entered. I can see on the side peripheral vision. You're being entered right now. Candy Town. It is a candy thermometer. Woo, Mr. Mark. What is this for? Treats by Mom candy. Jane got it too. Yes, it just takes, good one. Yeah. So what is this for? To go on the pot. Mark, you are correct. Now, do you, if your pot's short, do you angle your thermometer like this? Because, I don't know what to do. Do you angle it? No, you don't angle it because you're going to get an inaccurate reading. So what you would do is you would lower.
Squeeze it.
Oh, you know what it is? This thing's in the way. Well, you can make it, look at this. Wait, I had it in the wrong sleeve. You would lower it. So this is a new one. I had my grandmother's from 1947, and it just started giving me inaccurate readings. So I had to get a new one. So this one's new. So it does have a sleeve on it. You lower it, and then you can have it straight up like that. Right, and then you raise it back up, and this one's really cool. The digital reading will say all the different styles. It won't just say the temperature, it also says hard crack, soft crack, it says what you're looking for. It comes with protection. Yes, it is safe and always behaving correctly. This little thing here is for your chef's pocket, and that's why we have one on this side, because we can put it there. This one would be it's looking for a crack. It's looking for either a soft one or a hard one, but as long as it finds one, it's in good use. All right, it sounds like 3 people got that one correct today. That's excellent. We are going to now make a pizza sauce. So yesterday I made a sourdough pizza. Yes, Jane, it was that starter. And I discovered, hey, that is really easy to make. I made it the night before. I did a slow ferment. By the morning, I had a delicious pizza crust that had holes in it, crumb. It was a really crispy crust, thin, and it was simple, and it was easy to manage too because I had it at a 70% hydration, so it worked. Today I'm going to show you how to make your homemade pizza sauce on that. You know, the pizza sauces that you buy, they're just not yummy. And you have a pizza at a pizza restaurant and you think, it's so much more delicious. Let me show you how to make that. So you're going to start off with straight up tomato sauce and some tomato paste. Easy. And it makes quite a bit, so you can have this for a little bit. In a bowl, you are going to add some tomato sauce. This is a 680 milliliter. Most recipes will say this is a little bit more than 15 ounces, but it's okay. I don't like it as strong as other people. It's not the tomatoes that's going to make this. It is the spices that you put in. Need my knife. community cookbooks, if you find one, bring it to the stream, show it to me, and maybe you'll even start looking through it and say, oh, I remember that. I mean, some things aren't very good. You know, we see some of those Jell-O salads, but they're not all like that. They even sometimes, if it's one of those community cookbooks from Depression era, we're going to see foods that are used that just show that something was in short supply, and you're making do with something else. You're going to put in a can of tomato paste. Oh, I think I'm going to be able to use my new spatula. Wait till you see this spatula. Watch this. You ready? Love my spatula. This little spatula I found in a cook store, and it's exactly for small areas. I love it. It gets right to the bottom of a jar. Look at the size of it. And it's got that long handle, so it's exactly for this. When you're going into a jar, you're going into a can, and you don't want to get your fingers all yucky.
Could use that for colonoscopy too.
If you wanted to. Beautiful day here in Kawartha Lakes. We had beautiful weather for the fair. The first night they said that the town of Bobcaygeon in Kawartha Lakes has about 5,000 people. The first night they said that there were 4,000 people there. And you're like, oh good, everybody in town came. And then Saturday they said there was about 8,000 people. That's people from around different counties and traveling here to get here. Friday, I should say. And then Saturday it was really busy again. So great for us, great for them. All right. Now we start putting in our spices. I don't think I put this recipe up. You can go onto my Instagram and I will have this recipe up. So I have some spoons. We're going to put in 1 to 2 tablespoons of oregano. I had my oregano, here it is. You can see my oregano is a little coarser. That's because I grow it and I do my own oregano. I don't buy whatever fill they want to sell. This is one called Italian seasoning. Yeah, it's questionable what's in here, but it's also a mix of everything really nice. So it's 2 tablespoons of that. It's a lot, but we're just working with tomato sauce, so you want some flavor. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And there again, you can make that call. I put in quite a heavy half teaspoon. A half a teaspoon of onion powder. Again, almost a teaspoon. A half a tablespoon of garlic salt. That one I'm not going to play with because I don't want it overly salty. A 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And it's 1 teaspoon of sugar, which I forgot to bring out. The thing about the apple pumpkin butter also is you're going to have a great smell in your house. You're going to wake up to a smell that just smells like fall. I'm going to put a teaspoon, and that's it. You've got a lot of pizza sauce. If you want to do the overhead, you can see inside the bowl.
Mark doesn't seem to approve of your sugar.
I know. Leave the sugar out. I almost did. I can see I didn't even put it out. I'm wondering if I've even done that last time. Sugar preserves a little bit. Yeah, we've got tomatoes here, but you know, tomatoes, I'm going to freeze it anyway. I like a little bit of sugar in things. What does Mark say about sugar? Yes, Mark. Sugar. All right, if you look inside of this, you're going to see the oregano has really even changed the color, and it's made it a little bit darker. That's it. And then I'll show you what I put it in. You can put it into We never put sugar in our sauces. Well, Mark, you are Italian, and I'll give you that. However, we do. It's 1 teaspoon. Excuse me, it's 1 teaspoon for the entire batch. Go with it. I get these little plastic things, and it's perfect. I label it with pizza sauce. If you put about, one of these will make a large pizza. I take it out, I've got the large pizza done, and I don't have a jar of pizza sauce going yucky in my fridge. You can also put it into a resealable freezer bag, flatten it, seal it first, flatten it, and you can stack them. And then you've got pizza sauce you take out, it's quick, like a minute in the microwave, it's thawed out, and you've got fresh pizza sauce. So I am going to be putting this into these containers. I label it, poof, I've got pizza sauce when I want to make it. Not hard, but something maybe you didn't ever think about making on your own. Apparently Mark did, and apparently it was a superior quality. However, you know who gives me the hardest time on these streams? I'm telling you, it's the Italians who come on here, and it is the chefs. Yes, Bruiser, if he were here, well, I think Bruiser is starting to realize that I'm not just another pretty face, but Mark hasn't clued into that yet. But Jane also supports me a lot, and she's a real chef, and she is a real bread baker, and I appreciate her addition here. All right, let's put the pizza sauce aside. I don't think you need to see me putting that into the containers. If need be, we can come back and do that. We're going to go on to, like I said, our stream's a little bit out over the top today because we ran from thing to thing. It was crazy, but we had such a good weekend at the same time that, we had to do things in shifts, by the way. There was certain things you had to be in 2 different spots. So Tom and I were doing things in 2 different spots, but we had a lot of fun. I think I am going to put these in the containers. So we're going to go to the fair now, and what happened at the fair. So let me tell you about how an agricultural fair, you almost got towed. There's not enough space and too many cars. An agricultural fair, there's exhibits. And I did think that, real experts for the cows and the sheep and the pigs and all of that kind of livestock, I believed that they had judges that were experts. And I always took it very lightly. I've done fall fairs before, and I've exhibited baked goods and preserves before, and I always took it really lightly of what the judges were all about. And, I just thought it was, Susie's husband, who really likes oatmeal cookies and loves to snack, who was the judge. I never took it that, maybe it was Betty's brother. I never took it that it was other than a local who really knew something about the taste. I was very, very quickly surprised or corrected when I suggested that. Apparently, and you might know this, but it's new information to me, so I thought I would bring it to you. Apparently, you need to go to an Ontario Agricultural Fair judging school. And this intrigued me because I have an interest in that. You need to go to a judging school. You need to apprentice with an authentic judge. You have to have expertise in the specific thing you're judging. And it's an entire thing. I went and I downloaded all the information on how to become a judge. It's amazing. So you need to have qualifications. And to get those qualifications, you have to go to a judging school. That judging school is not enough. Then you have to be an apprentice at 3 different fairs with a qualified judge. I would be a good judge. Then when and you can't judge at your local one, you have to travel to do these. Then when you've apprenticed at 3 different fairs with a judge, then you can start judging under the guidance of still a judge. that has been certified for years, but every 3 years you must recertify. I took my ribbons and my success at these fairs entirely different after I read this. So I'm just looking through these requirements. It is amazing. And let's say, honestly, if you're a judge in quilting, it's not like you just can judge every quilt. There's certain types. There's patchwork quilts. There's pattern quilts. You have to have a specified qualification. And then if you're into the home baking and the canning and preserving, you can't, just because you know how to judge the pies doesn't mean that you know how to judge the jams. You have to specialize in that. I was shocked. Did you know this, that anybody here, well, maybe you never thought of it or cared. I cared, but did you know that? So when I then found all of this out, did this research, I've actually applied for the judging school because, yeah, I want to do that. I think you also have to have some expertise in the subject matter. So you can't just judge quilts if you don't know how to quilt. You can't just judge canning and preserves if you don't know how. It's a big world. I want to show you what happened at the fair. I want to take you to the fair. I put in a cake. I put in some rice pudding that was sponsored by Kawartha Dairy. I put in brownies and cookies and jams and preserves. I had some success. I had a disqualification, and you can't go off of the criteria, I discovered. And I had some that just didn't do anything, but I had a lot of fun. I want to take you and show you what we did at the fair. Watch this. Everybody, we're at the Bobcaygeon Fall Fair. We're having a good time, watching the kids have a good time. On Thursday nights it's a little bit cheaper, so we're here. We'll come back. I didn't choose the music. It's good music because agricultural fairs do tend to have a rural vibe to it. We had a blast. I'm going to tell you, the carnival workers are a real thing. It was fun, but I actually wanted to do a whole special on the carnival workers. I want to know more about that life, that lifestyle. Yeah, I'm curious about how they do that. We had fun. We saw lots of things that are homey, things that are really just simple fun. Go to Carney School? I'm not sure if that's a real school. I think I'll go to the judge school instead. The Carney lifestyle. I showed you a couple of them, but to tell you the truth, I wanted to take more pictures of the carnival workers, and I was afraid because they gave me a look every time I would take a picture of them. I was sort of afraid that I was exploiting them, and they may know that, so I stopped doing that. I got my pizza sauce all packaged up for the freezer. So you can see I've got about 4 different large pizza, like a 14-inch pizza. So back to the fair. You saw those ladies clogging, and that's fun, and that's really, really a great little country thing that these women get together and do. And what I did find curious and funny is that when Tom saw it, he said, you know, I think you should do that. Well, what part of me should do that? So if you know me and you're on this chat, think of me joining the clogging group and clogging as a hobby. Yeah, clippity-cloppeting all over the stage. I love those ladies. Good for them. But think of me in that group. I don't know. I'll show you the prizes that I won. So when I walked up in, and you saw when I discovered, I couldn't wait. So you saw, this is what, I wanted that red ribbon, and the red ribbons were on just about everything except the home baking and the home canning. Oh, yeah, so, oh yeah, all right. You can see it, there's a sticker at the bottom, but what I noticed when I got home is that there's a little note on the back that the judge has put very nice. It was a pumpkin cream cheese bundt cake, and it was really made with care. I think it was delicious. When I went, at the end of the fair, so you submit it on a Thursday, it's judged Thursday afternoon, it stays there Friday, and then Saturday, when the fair is closing at 5:30, you go to the exhibit hall and you pick up your submissions. Everything of mine, I had some rice pudding, that I threw right into the garbage because it's made with cream and it's sitting there. I had some brownies that had cream cheese in them, and I had some ginger snap cookies that had been bitten into because the judges bite. You can see they only take a little bit. Sure, there's a lot of waste. There is a lot of waste. I noticed some people taking it home. I had no intentions of eating anything that has been there. On the way out, a lady approached me and said, "Can I buy your cake?" No, I'll give you the cake, but I'm not selling the cake. So she took the cake, plate and all, and she said, "I know you, your baking is going to be perfect." And how responsible am I if her family gets sick on this cream cheese that's in it? So it did not go to waste. The entire cake went to this family. Great, I was happy about it. Anything that was in a jar, like some corn relish, that got a 4th place, so I'm not talking about that. It got disposed of because I know that it's been open and someone has been in it. I just, you know, who's going to take that chance? This 2nd place was for a ginger marmalade. It was really good. The 1st place I saw had some shreds of the citrus in it. It looked beautiful. And how you are judged is 50% on appearance and 50% on flavor. So, you know, there's a lot of criteria, and now that I know how the judging works, I trust that a lot. Great time was had at the fair. Another year goes by, and we'll wait to do it again. I want to tell you about a new series we're doing, and it really is intriguing to me. We are going to different farmers in the Bobcaygeon and Kawartha Lakes area. We're going to different farmers, primary food suppliers in the Kawartha Lakes, and we're doing a series interviewing them and finding out how they produce food to put on our table. Our series is called Straight to the Source. The first place we're going to on Tuesday to do a little bit of a tour and an interview is Merkaba Acres, and Tom is going to put up their logo because he's supposed to be doing that. So Merkaba Acres is a family-run farm, and they do it all, and they do it all well. They agreed to us coming on Tuesday. We're going to be bringing our camera equipment, and we're going to be doing a little tour and a little interview, and I want you to see how a local primary food supplier brings food to the farmers market and ultimately to our table. And I think we're going to have fun. We're going to be visiting another farm that specializes in a different type of agriculture. And then we're going to be visiting a beekeeper, and we're going to be trying to find different places that are primary food sources for us. And then we're going to find out a little bit more about what we eat. Until then, keep cooking, nurture yourself, nurture those who you love. Happy Thanksgiving next weekend, and for now, this kitchen is closed.